I remember the day my world began to crumble. It was not a single moment, but a series of seemingly insignificant events that escalated until I could no longer ignore them. Now, I'm 18, on the cusp of adulthood, trying to figure out what kind of person I want to be, how to fit into this world. But nothing has prepared me for this. It all started when my father had an accident. My father is a blacksmith, one of the hardest working men I know. He built everything we have with his own hands. But when the accident happened, it was like the universe flicked a switch. He broke his left leg and arm, in 4 places serious fractures that made even the simplest of tasks impossible. Watching him struggle, watching him become dependent on others for what he once did himself was hard. I know it crushed him from the inside out, and I hated to see him in that state. Even worse was that he had to rely a lot on his apprentice, a guy named Kyle. Kyle was 26 years old, a good worker, and had been helping my father for a long time. I always considered him a friend of our family. He was here almost every day, learning a trade and helping out where he could. After my dad's accident, Kyle became his hands and feet, running the store and keeping things running. I didn't pay much attention to it at first. After all, my dad had no choice, and Kyle seemed happy to help. But that was before I started noticing other things. One night, I stayed up late playing a game. I had always been a night owl, especially when school was out. I would immerse myself in my games until the early hours of the morning. My mom didn't know that. She thought I went to bed at the proper time, like most normal teenagers, but late-night gaming was my salvation. It was about 12:45 when I heard the phone ring. It was soft, but loud enough to draw my attention to the sound in my headphones. Not knowing why, I paused the game and listened. I heard my mom's voice, faint but clear enough to understand. She was saying, "I'll be sure to do it tomorrow." And that was it. Nothing more. At that moment, I didn't pay much attention to it. It could have been anything, maybe a call from one of her friends. But something about it hooked me. The next morning, Kyle came to help my dad at the store, as usual. He sat with my parents, drinking tea and chatting as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. But I noticed something. My mom seemed different. She was constantly bending over, adjusting her shirt, as if she was trying to pick something up, but nothing was working. I don't know why, but that phone call the night before flashed through my mind. It was strange, like something more was going on than I realized. Over the next few weeks, things only got weirder. I started paying more attention to her, not because I was suspicious at first, but because I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Mom was spending more time outside, taking longer to go to the store, or running errands that didn't seem necessary. I told myself I thought it was just me, that I was paranoid, but that didn't get rid of the nagging feeling in my soul. One night, I decided to go to bed later than usual. This time, I wasn't playing. I was waiting. I didn't even know what it was, but I felt I had to be on the lookout just in case. Around 1 o'clock in the morning, I heard my mom's phone again. This time, I slipped out of my room and stood at her door. Her voice was soft, but I could hear it quite clearly. She was whispering something, giggling softly. I couldn't make out every word, but the tone was unmistakable. That's no way to talk to friends. I froze in place. My heart raced in my chest as I realized what was happening. My mom was cheating on my dad, and not just with some stranger. It was with Kyle. Everything fell into place. Her strange behavior, the late-night phone calls, the way she leaned in front of him like she wanted him to notice. I felt sick. I wanted to storm into the room, to face her, to yell at her for betraying my father, for betraying us. But I didn't. I couldn't. I didn't know how to deal with it. I just went back to my room, closed the door, and sat in silence, staring at the wall. For the next few days, I couldn't look at my mom like before. Every time she spoke to me, I had to bite my tongue to keep from lashing out at her. I couldn't even talk to my father without feeling a crushing weight of guilt. I knew something he didn't know, something that would destroy him if he found out. He was already broken physically, and this would destroy what was left of him emotionally. I tried to convince myself that maybe I was wrong, that maybe it was all in my head. But then I overheard another conversation. This time, it was clearer. They were planning to meet at a hotel. That's when I knew it was certain. What was I supposed to do? My mom was cheating with a guy who worked for my dad, a guy my dad trusted. I couldn't even realize it. I felt like I was stuck in a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I thought about telling my dad, but how could I? How could I be the one to tear our family apart? But how could I stay silent and let it continue? Guilt and confusion began to consume me. I couldn't concentrate in school. I couldn't enjoy the games anymore. Every time I looked at my mom, all I could see was her betrayal. She was deceiving not only my father, but me as well. She was supposed to be someone I could trust, someone who set an example. But now, it all felt like a lie. As the weeks passed, I felt a breaking point had come. I could no longer keep this secret. One night, I was awake again, but this time I wasn't just listening. I needed to know the whole truth about what was going on. I waited until my mom went to bed and snuck into her room. Her phone was on the nightstand, and my hands trembled when I picked it up. I knew her password. Of course I did. She trusted me, and that trust made things so much worse. I opened her messages, and there they were, the correspondence between her and Kyle. Explicit, intimate messages that left no doubt about their relationship. They talked about how they couldn't wait to see each other again, how my dad didn't understand anything, how they had to be careful. I wanted to throw the phone, to scream, to run away from everything, but I couldn't. I just stood there, shaking with my whole body, scrolling through the messages. After that, I couldn't look at my mom without feeling angry, betrayed, and sad. She had shattered my view of her, and I didn't know how to pick up the shards of my love for her. I thought about talking to her, but every time I opened my mouth, the words stuck in my throat. I couldn't bring myself to do it. The only thing I could do was write it all down, trying to make sense of it all. I poured my heart into this journal, detailing every moment, every suspicion, every confirmation of my worst fears. Writing was my only escape from the storm of emotions raging inside me. Now, I'm at a crossroads. I know I can't keep this secret forever. It's tearing me apart. But I also know that telling my father could destroy him. He's already lost so much, and I don't know if he can handle losing the person he loves most in the world. Part of me thinks I should just keep quiet and let them figure it out for themselves. Maybe my mom will come to her senses. Maybe Kyle will leave, and this nightmare will end. But deep down, I know that's not how it works. I'm 18 now, and for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm carrying too heavy a burden. My mom's choices have put me in a desperate situation, and no matter what I do, someone is going to get hurt. But the question is, who? And what will be left of our family when the truth finally comes out?